Who should the Browns pick up in free agency? Will Antonio Brown end up a Cleveland Brown? Should the NFL change overtime rule? And is Baker Mayfield prime for a sophomore slump in 2019/2020? I'm here to answer your questions, so let's get into it. Okay guys, so I took your comments from my YouTube community discussion page and from Twitter, and the first question we got here is from Super D Biggest Fan, and he asks, who's the dream free agent that you want the Browns to pick up? And this one's easy. I think run defense was our worst problem last year, and I think also Emmanuel Ogbah disappointed, and I think he actually plays better on the inside. So I think if you can go after somebody like Jadeveon Clowney, who isn't lights out as a pass rusher, but is a really solid run defender on that opposite end of Myles Garrett, and then you can move Emmanuel Ogbah inside, and then you can draft guys on top of that to shore that up. So I think that's what I would love the Browns to do. Maybe sign a right tackle. I don't think any right tackles really out there that's desirable this offseason, but the biggest signing I think they could make, and the one that if I were the Browns I would make, is signing Jadeveon Clowney and putting him opposite of Myles Garrett, just so you can have that flexibility in the run defense. The next question comes from 147TSK, and he asks, should the Browns keep Perriman? Hell yes. He was a great deep threat for the Browns. He's that big-bodied wide receiver, and it seems like him and Baker Mayfield were able to develop chemistry, and he played a lot better in Cleveland than he did in Baltimore. So yeah, I would think he's worth investing in, and he's also not going to be a huge investment to sign. So yeah, I think on both sides this is a no-brainer. Bernard Perriman should stay a Brown. RJ, the Nutella guy, asks, if Antonio Brown gets traded, what team do you think it will be to? I'll say San Francisco. Yeah, I think he's going to get traded to San Francisco. I don't think the Steelers are going to trade him anywhere in the AFC. And I think San Francisco is the team that is desperate enough and dumb enough to trade for Antonio Brown. So I think he ends up in San Francisco. They're going to try to pair him together with Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle. Have a nice little passing attack there. I still think there's a lot to be said about Garoppolo before we crown him as one of these top franchise guys. But yeah, I think that's something that San Francisco is going to do. All right, Bob's Way Basketball asks a more personal question. And he's going to ask me, were you born and raised in Cleveland? And how interested would you be in making videos on the Cavs and Indians? Well, the Cleveland question gets asked a lot. Yes, I was born and raised in Cleveland from the east side, the Maple Heights areas where I went to high school. It's the shirt that I'm wearing. And am I interested in making videos on the Cavs and Indians? Sure, not really, especially when it comes to the Cavs, just because it's not really a lot to talk about when it comes to the Cavs. I mean, they've won 9 games so far this season. And to be honest, I stopped watching a while ago when it comes to the Cavs this season. And when it comes to the Indians, no, but for different reasons. I just don't think what I do on YouTube in the worst take format really fits baseball well. So that's kind of why I kind of stick to football topics on this channel. The Catster, and I love cats, by the way. My cat's in here watching me make this video, so great name, whoever you are. The Catster asks, who do you think the Browns are going to or should target in the draft with all of their picks? With their first round pick, my philosophy, if I'm the Brown, is whatever defensive tackle is available from Clemson, take them. I think every single one of those players are going to be legit NFL guys. I just think they need inside help. With the later round picks, I think since your biggest problems this year, again, were run defense and special teams, I don't think it hurts to draft too many linebackers, because linebackers improve your run defense and improve your special teams if you have too many. So I think that's going to be the route that they take in the draft. As far as specific names, I have no idea yet. I haven't even begun to engage myself in the deep draft talk. And honestly, as a Browns fan, it's a nice little break not having to worry about the draft so much because we finally got the quarterback. So I'm going to enjoy it for a couple more weeks before I get real deep into draft talk. Okay, next question. J Small Z asks, should the NFL change the overtime rules? Would it make sense to give each team one possession? If receiving team scores a touchdown on the first drive, then the other team needs to respond with a touchdown or go to sudden death. So essentially, it's asking if the NFL should adopt the college overtime rules. Now, while I like college overtime, I think the one flaw in it is that you do start on the 20, and I know why they do that for safety reasons and to shorten the overtime period. But I think it takes a lot out of the game when you just start on the 20-yard line and can extend games longer. My idea would be similar to what you said, to change the overtime rules where you can have the opportunity to score a touchdown. But I think if the other team scores a touchdown on its first possession, after that, you have to go for 2 on each touchdown. That way, the probability of the game going on for an extra quarter or so kind of goes down significantly, since you have to make the 2-point conversion in order to continue the game. I think that's the way to solve the problem when it comes to the overtime rules. Now, I'm pretty sure in the comment section, a bunch of people are going to tell me why it's way more complicated of a fix than that. But I think it's a good start to kind of get somewhere between the college and the NFL overtime rules, because I do believe both offenses should be able to have a chance to tie the game at least. And I know people are going to say, what about defense? But hey, it's an offensive-driven game. We make no shakes at it now. So you might as well let the offense dictate some of the game more than defense. Golden Gaming asks, can you do a way too early preview of our 2019 schedule and potential record? Well, as far as an early predictions video, I think I'll do that when the schedule comes out in the actual order. And just see what times, what teams have done in the offseason, what teams have done in the draft, in order to kind of guess, what I feel like the Browns realistically should do. I do feel that they should go somewhere, regardless of how the schedule lines up, between 9-7 and 12-4. I think that's the talent level you have on the roster just now, and what we're projecting to add in free agency and in the draft. But if you're asking me my gut feeling where I believe the Browns will go, I feel like they're going to go above 10-6 next year. Cleveland Rocks asks, what's your favorite sport besides football? It's a tough question. My second favorite sport to watch is actually basketball. I think basketball is just such a compelling sport when it comes to just seeing how athletic some of the players are, some of the personalities on the court. I would say my favorite sport to play is baseball. Swimming. I swam in high school. So those two sports, I would say, are kind of my favorite to play, but I don't really watch a lot of swimming or baseball. 147 TSK asks again, do you think Dorsey looks at Kitchens like a player, meaning that he sees the talent and wants to develop it over time? Yeah, I think Dorsey knows that he made this hire probably a year early. And is going to develop and put Freddie Kitchens in a great position, just like he did with Baker Mayfield, to succeed early on, to kind of offset being hired a year early. Because I think John Dorsey felt like this was the guy and he had to hire him. And I think that's a good thing. You rather have the right coach a year early than have the wrong coach a year late. I think that's the crux to it. And I think yeah, if that's how John Dorsey views it, I think that's the right way to view it. And I feel like, John Dorsey sees this as something that's going to pay off down the line, as well as right now. Ken Karish asks, do you think teams have had enough film on Baker this season? Or do you think next season will be a lot harder for Baker? Yes and no, because he's retaining the same offense. So he's not going to have that learning curve of having to learn a new offense. And we've seen nowadays in quarterback second years, it's not like it used to be where they would get figured out and they would have to tool their game, they will have the sophomore slump. We've seen a lot of guys explode in the second year. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is kind of an exception because he didn't play his first year, but Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, all guys who had MVP caliber second year. Not Jared Goff. Jared Goff didn't have an MVP caliber year, but, good. But as far as Baker Mayfield's concerned, I don't see why he would have a huge sophomore slump. If you look at how Baker Mayfield plays the game of football, if film was going to be the thing that brought him down, if teams knowing and having him on film for that whole year was going to be the thing that brought him down, it would have done it already, I believe. I mean, he played enough games this season for teams to catch up on him when it comes to film study. So I don't believe that the case. And if you look at the one team that would have the most film study and the most knowledge of Baker Mayfield's tendencies and weaknesses, it would be the Cincinnati Bengals, because they had Hugh Jackson on staff both times they played Baker, and it just didn't matter. He had his 2 best games against Cincinnati. So I think Baker Mayfield, he plays the game very traditionally. He can do some improvisational stuff, but there's no way film can kind of combat that. I just think he's a very accurate, very smart quarterback, and it's hard for film to catch up. It's not like Lamar Jackson where you have questions on how he can operate outside that offense, or to a certain extent with Jared Goff, to where you wonder what his effectiveness is without Sean McVay. Baker Mayfield is kind of, he plays the game pretty traditionally. There's nothing really gimmicky about how he goes about things, so I wouldn't have any reason to expect there be a sophomore slump for him. All right, question from Brian Studer. What is your background? And wants to get some knowledge of who I am. Well, I'm from Cleveland, born and raised. Grew up a Browns fan. Been a Browns fan since I can remember. For anybody who has any questions about my age, I'm 23 years old. Recently graduated college from Youngstown State University a couple years ago in the telecommunications program and theater, actually. If you look at my older videos, you'll actually see some acting stuff. That is stuff I did. And the common misconception I have seen, because I did live in LA last year, I don't anymore. I'm back in Ohio while I'm doing these sports videos. A lot of people still think I'm out there. And when I posted the photo of me at the Browns game, people were like, how the hell did you? Yeah, I'm back in Ohio now. All right, guys, so that kind of does it for all the questions. Thank you guys for asking so much and the support that I got for that thread. If you want to ask questions for next week's Q&A video, please put it down in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your questions and respond to them in another video. Again, guys, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and you guys have a great night or day or morning, or just have a good rest of. Bye.